Presidential candidate RFK Jr. joins me now. What do you think happened down there in Lower Manhattan today?
I think, Jesse, that it is going to backfire. This conviction is going to backfire on the Democrats. I think every time that President Trump has been indicted, that his approval ratings actually increase, his popularity increases. I think there's a large number of Americans who are going to see this as the politicization of and the weaponization of the enforcement agencies. And I think it's going to hurt. It's bad for our democracy. I think the Democrats feel like they have the DNC feels like it has a candidate that cannot win fair and square in the polls. And so they have to win in the courts. They have to win by clearing the deck and getting their other opponents out of the race. I'm not a fan of President Trump's, but I want to win. I want to beat him in a campaign on a level playing field. I want to talk about his issues, about locking down the economy, shutting down 3.3 million businesses, about running up a $34 trillion debt, about engaging us in forever wars and doing favors for Wall Street. I don't want to beat him in a courtroom. I think it's not good for our country, and I think it's really going to backfire on the Democrats.
Well, I think maybe you have a little bit more honor than the sitting president, that's for sure. Your uncle was the head of the DOJ and then eventually was ensnared in similar vicious, elite, and very dangerous circles, your father and your uncle. Do you see any similarities with what is going on now today?
Well, my father was the Attorney General. You know, his first week in office, he called up in 1961, he called in all the division heads and the bureau chiefs of the Department of Justice, and he said, rule number one, politics is out the window. We never prosecute based upon politics. We never ask whether somebody's Democrat or Republican. The reason he did that was because he understood how important it is for our country, the American people, to have faith that the judicial system is neutral, that all of us need to respect it. If we start believing that it's politicized, it's terrible for our country. And that's one of the reasons prosecutors, even when there's a case against a former president, like there was with President Nixon and many, many others, that they usually err on the side of caution, of not bringing it, because we risk making ourselves look like a third world country, like a banana republic, where nobody really actually runs the election. If there's somebody who's going to run against you, you get rid of them one way or another. And and this was part of our history in England when the king was running it, he'd choose his prime minister and his parliament members, and people who ran against them, he would lock them up. So this was a sensitivity that we had from the beginning, that we need to be very, very careful about separation of powers.
Well, RFK Jr., you know why that they're getting away with it is because the media lets them. If we had a fair press in the United States, they wouldn't even be tempted to pull these stunts. They wouldn't be trying to incarcerate their rivals and indict people for threatening their power. It's the media that's letting them get away with it because they're just not held accountable in the court of public opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jesse. I think there's tribalism in the media, and a lot of them have forgotten what journalism is. A lot of them have forgotten about what integrity is. And we see this across the board. But what I would say to people is, in the Democratic Party, is even if you won this way, what is it going to do to our country? If half the people in this country have the anger and the rage and feel like that they're the person, they're a champion, that the candidate that they wanted to vote for has been taken off the table. When I was growing up, the Democratic Party was the party of getting everybody to vote, of making sure nobody got disenfranchised. The modern Democratic Party is just trying to get rid of as many possibilities for voters as possible, and it's not a good thing for our country.
It's changed. The party's changed, the country's changing, and it's happening in a wild, wild fashion. RFK Jr., thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.